Hello, podcast listener. We're going to get serious in this episode, and I've got an action item for you. So sit back, relax, and do something about hunger. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is! He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprain. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Tucker, at the time of this recording, the United States government has been shut down now, and SNAP benefits, the funding for the SNAP program, has diminished. Now, if you have dollars on a SNAP card, those are still spendable, but they're not reloading that card anymore until the government reopens and then it gets funded again. To which my understanding is there won't be any back funding for this. It's not like a TSA agent who's working technically for free right now. And it really got me to think this last week about food insecurity. We're leading up to the holidays. We're leading up to, the quote-unquote season of giving. But right now, there is real need from families. And I want to share a couple of things that have come to my attention over the years that I did not know about food insecurity, not just in our country, but right here in our own backyard. Number one, and again, you're going to hear my ignorance on this, but I thought, well, you get on this program and you're probably on this program for a long time, right? So if you're going to the food pantry, the emergency food pantry, you're probably going there every single week. Now, I got to meet the executive director of the food pantry, not the Great Plains Food Bank, but the emergency food pantry. I know both of them. And what Stacy at the emergency food pantry told me is the majority of the people that they serve, they are not serving every single week. So these are people who are having to make tough decisions like, a tire on our car popped and it's going to be $300. We can get the tire fixed because we still need to get to work and get the kids to school, or we can go to the grocery store. And she said the number of people who come in and only use our services once or twice adds up and adds up. And certainly during a time when the period of inflation has hit so much, that adds to it. So immediately I was like, well, that makes so much more sense. And the reason the emergency food pantry exists are for situations like right now, okay? So let's say you are a government worker who has not been paid. Your paycheck has not cleared, in almost a month now. And you're still working that job, and you'll probably get back pay, but back pay doesn't get you a loaf of bread and a dozen eggs, right? So some of these people are taking on a second job. They're already working 40 hours a week for a government agency. If they were lucky enough to keep their jobs, by the way, because don't forget what happened earlier this year when we decided to go in and get rid of, quote unquote, the fat in so many of these organizations. But so now you don't have money coming in unless you took that second job, and now you're working, so much that you're getting burnt out. And what are you going to do when it comes to food, right? That's why you took that second job, so you can afford the food. If you're someone who can't do that, right? So families in particular, how are you supposed to pay for daycare? How are you supposed to pay for food? There's so many studies on how hungry children don't learn and can't socialize because hunger gnaws at you. It's not something that goes away. It's not fear. It stays with you. It changes the way your brain, the chemistry in your brain works. It changes your feelings, how your body reacts to things. And so why are we not trying to feed people? I don't get it. I don't understand it. And so in this episode of JJ Meets World, I want to talk about some very simple things that you can do to help right now. So these are not, we just got done with October, and my co-host on the radio used to say something really great where she goes, I'm really sick and tired of everyone talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. She goes, it needs to be Breast Cancer Action Month. And so that's what I want to put out there, is that I would like to get people to take action. So here's the first thing. Where do you work? Do you work from home completely? While you're working from home, go and gather 4 things out of your pantry. If you have the means to have a fully stocked pantry, you have stuff in there that maybe you haven't touched in a while, you loaded up on navy beans when there was a navy bean sale, find those things and bring them into the food pantry, okay? It's a quick stop. You know, oftentimes don't even have to go inside. A volunteer will just come and grab it for you. If you work at a place of business where you've got other coworkers or people even coming into your business, put a cardboard box right out at the front. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can say, you know, John's bedroom on the side of it from the last move you had, but put a sign there that says accepting donations for the food pantry. And collect whatever you can collect. And you know what? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be flashy. 5 boxes of macaroni and cheese, a couple of chunks of Velveeta, some canned goods, especially canned protein. They are always asking for canned protein. And I think the go-to on that is tuna. But don't forget about the canned chickens, even like Vienna beef franks, stuff like that. Anything that you collect is more than they would have had if you hadn't put that effort in. Now, if you're someone who is really gung-ho about this and you absolutely want to make a difference, talk to your coworkers and encourage them to go to their pantries and grab a couple things. Or how about this? Go to the emergency food pantry or go to the Great Plains Food Bank's website and look what they're looking for. Look at the top 10 things that they're accepting right now. If you are a cattle rancher and you've got a side of beef and you don't know what to do with the side of beef and you're like, we were kind of hoping to sell it, but we're just going to turn it into ground beef, call one of these food banks and say, listen, if I brought you 500 pounds of ground beef, do you have space to store it? And can you get it out? Because I can tell you this right now, they will be able to get it out. The emergency food bank in Fargo, the emergency food pantry in Fargo, told me a staggering statistic that normally when you bring in an item, it is in that warehouse for less than 48 hours. That's how quickly it is moving back out into the community itself. And this goes, consumables, food, obviously very important, but things like hygiene items as well are incredibly important too. The Great Plains Food Bank has what they call a diaper bank. And so you can donate diapers of any size, and then they help provide those as well because those things are also extremely expensive. If you look and see what you can purchase with SNAP, you could go and buy those items and make sure that they're at the food pantry so that these people who, it's not their fault that the government shut down. It is not their fault that this program is now broke because the government, because we can't get our lawmakers to sit down and hash things out and agree that yes, we need to be running right now. Could you imagine if a business did this 2 days before Thanksgiving? Target decides, listen, we're not going to be open for the next week because we can't decide whether we should put out Taylor Swift items or Stanley tumblers. We just need to concentrate on getting these programs up, running, and good to go. There's so much that a single person can do. To quote the movie Death to Smoochie, which if you have not seen it, is fantastic. It is about children's television, but it's the dark side of children's
Robin
television.
Williams and Edward Norton? Right?
Yep, exactly, right. And Catherine Keener, who I think is sort of a sleeper. Like, everyone loves Catherine Keener, but they are like, oh, it's that lady.
That's one of those movies that for sure I watched on DVD while working at like a video rental store.
Definitely.
I'm pretty certain I did.
It's also directed by Danny DeVito, too.
That's right. That's right. An underappreciated filmother, but that's for another day conversation.
Ed Norton plays this like eternal optimist who's making a children's television show, and his motto is like, you might not be able to change the world, but you can make a dent.
So along those lines, that's along what we're talking about. I remember us talking about something similar, I think when you had first met the director of that organization, and that there was a stronger reason to donate goods directly versus handing them cash or giving them money. Is that still true? Is that still an effect? I mean, I'm sure they can use both, but I'm thinking, let's say you're out there and you are a person of means, right? And you do have the ability to cut a check, or even if it's $100 or something like that. Is one better than the other?
Yeah, cash is better.
Okay.
Donating funds is better, and this is why. So, for example, the Great Plains Food Bank, $1 donated to them can buy $2 or to buy 2 meals. And it's because they've got purchasing power.
Wow.
So they could go, they could go to Del Monte directly and say, we'd like to buy $10,000 worth of pineapple chunks from you.
Mm-hmm.
And I could go out there, and if I bought $10,000 worth of pineapple chunks, that's maybe 2 pallets. But if they go directly to the supplier, they can buy 6 pallets.
Right.
So they can do more with money. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the rub, okay? So this is where I think it's hard, because any nonprofit will tell you, we want money, right? That's what we want. We want money, and we'll do good things with your dollars. But we don't want to give money. We like giving something. There's, the retail therapy, that idea of like, people love to shop, right?
Yeah.
And so I have found that organizations do much better when they ask for something specific. And yes, the impact might not be as much as the dollars, but we've seen other organizations who, fundraise, and then their CEO is making, $750,000 a year, and you go, well, how much of my money actually went to that? And so that fatigue is incredibly real, being asked for money nonstop. And so this is a case where let's bring it down to like a lower level, right? Maybe you collect money, but you're not just asking someone for a check for $100.
Right.
Maybe you're putting a change jar out, right? Maybe you run a bar, and the people who work at your bar are also passionate about what you're doing, and so they put a tip jar out, and that tip jar is going to go directly towards it. And so, yes, instead of getting $2 off of you bringing me a beer, you're going to get $1, but then $1 is going to go in that. And so essentially, you just bought 2 meals.
And I've always thought of that would be great with like arcade games at a space like that, right? Like any quarters or any card swipes or whatever system you're using to play those games, all of those funds goes to the children's or wherever thing of your choice.
You know what I love is roundups. Like when they're like,
Sure.
would you like to round
Yeah.
up for charity? And it might be 67 cents this time. It might be 12 cents the next time.
My micro way of doing that is just that I shop at thrift shops all the time. I always round up, and I almost always pay in cash. And if it's a couple bucks, I'll just say keep the change.
Yeah,
I'll
which
just
is
make
nice.
it fast. Don't need a receipt. Thank you. I'm out. Right. It costs me very little, but it also feels good.
It does feel good. And beyond the feeling of this feels good, this is important. And quite frankly, it's time that we step up for our neighbors, right? I also heard a great story during the pandemic. Well, it's not a great story, but it's an inspirational story during the pandemic, which is someone that we both know was volunteering at a food pantry, and they were with a family member, and a really nice car, like a big Escalade, pulls up, and the man and the woman get out of the car. They, are well dressed, and they get a box of food. And this person's young family member goes, "Can you believe that? Those rich people just took food. I can't believe it." And the teachable moment that they walked away from was, you don't know what their story is. Both of these people might have lost their jobs 3 months ago. That car might be getting repossessed tomorrow. They might be on their way to job interviews, and they're not trying to buck the system by getting a box of food, right? Like nobody thinks, hey, you know what I'm going to do is I'm really going to stick it to the man, and I'm going to go get a box of food and bring it back to my mansion, and I'm going to eat, what was available there. It's humbling. It's very humbling to do this. And there are organizations that the way they treat their food pantry is like a grocery store, where you walk through and you take the items that are important to you and your family. Because this is the other thing that bothers me so much. So when you think of like, if you, Tucker, and this isn't a gotcha, I'm just asking you, if you said, I'm going to go and spend $20 on food that I'm going to bring to the food pantry. What are you buying and bringing to the food pantry?
I guess I'm trying to stretch the $20 as much as I can. So I'm probably trying to buy things that are boxed or
Give me
canned.
give me an example.
Oh, okay, like macaroni and cheese, things that are shelf stable, things that I can get a lot of for that $20. I think if anything, I'm just trying to stretch that dollar. So I'm not doing fresh produce or anything like that. I'm doing, it's probably cheap, low quality food if I think about it now, right? Because that's the low cost stuff.
Yep.
So if it's
But you want the most, right? I want
Right,
to
yeah,
I want
I
to
want
get
the most.
10 cans rather than 4 cans.
So it's probably tuna fish, right? Maybe with something else.
So this is also something that was brought to my attention. So Fargo has become a melting pot of cultures. Not every culture eats those things.
Right.
And
Yep.
we are not stocking a food pantry with things that work for other cultures. That's why, for example, at this other food, the Dorothy Day food pantry, when I was there and they were putting some stuff together, they said, we got a donation this last week of like 2,000 tortillas. And these are something that we're begged for on a regular basis because those families in that culture, that's what they use as tortilla. And they can make so many things with tortillas as the base, the same way we think of like white bread, right? Well, what happens if you're Ukrainian and goulash is something that you want to eat on a regular basis, but nobody's donating canned tomatoes, right? An interesting fact, too, is places like the emergency food pantry can accept wild game. As long as it's been processed by a licensed facility. So, for example, if you go out and you're deer hunting and you love the thrill of the hunt and you get a deer and you bring it to a place like Prime Cut Meats that does processing, they process it, you can donate that meat in like those wrapped, things that said, like processed, blah, 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 Prime Cut Meats. That's massive. And I know so many people who are hunters who have freezers full of stuff that they haven't eaten for years. And we're talking about if you go pheasant hunting, if you're duck hunting, if you did wild turkey, if you're deer hunting, that meat goes a long way. And not everyone wants venison, but there are certainly people out there who would. And quite frankly, if you're hungry and you need to feed your family of 5, 6, there are things you're going to accept, right?
I just thought too, the cheap things that I was listing off, a lot of those are just, they're full of gluten.
Yep.
Let's say you're someone who literally, if I eat gluten, I'm pain all day long. So that's just not an option for me.
Right.
But I'm also in a situation where I need to rely on this food pantry. Your options are limited to I'm eating tuna out of the can, right?
And that's in like, because you think of like, okay, well, it's not just you. Like, if you are a family of 4, what if one of you is gluten intolerant? Right.
Or just allergic to something. Peanuts, right?
Also, those individuals who, like you said, you want to buy the thing that's most like cost effective, right? Well, typically those people who are, struggling with income, that's what they're able to buy for themselves in a lot of cases too. So if you're able to actually go out and spend $40 on groceries this week, it's not going to be enough to feed your whole family, but you're buying those things that stretch. And so then you walk to the food pantry and it's the same things that you're seeing. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go out there and buy caviar, but what I'm saying is be thoughtful about these things that you're doing and the things that you're buying. And that's where the cash aspect of it, the actual money, makes a big difference. And I know a lot of... So here's another example. Talking to the Great Plains Food Bank this week. On an average, they give out 1 million pounds of food a month. And the way the Great Plains Food Bank works is they provide to the food pantries. So they're a warehouse that provides the food. So if you're a small town food pantry, you of course are getting food on your own, but you're also getting a shipment of stuff from the Great Plains Food Bank. They they filter out to all of these places all over the state of North Dakota and Clay County in Minnesota. So they act as a warehouse. So you don't go to the Great Plains Food Bank and pick up a box of food. But you can volunteer there. You can do all these things. They're an organization that $1 equals 2 meals because of the buying power they're able to do. So you walk into Fargo emergency food pantry, right? And you're like, okay, listen, I need these things. I need some protein, fresh vegetables. They also accept garden vegetables during the growing season. And so there are plenty of people out there who like, I don't know what to do with all my zucchini. I have so many tomatoes. Be like, this is a place that you can bring them and have them have an additional life. We are also right before Fill the Dome. And I'm sorry. I was getting the Great Plains Food Bank gives away 1 million pounds of food every single month. They estimate, based on the need that other food pantries have told them about, from people who said, listen, my SNAP is going to be empty on November 1st. So they've already done the things like some food pantries have you like register essentially, like where you bring your ID and then they just get to know you so that they're like, okay, here you go. Here's your box. And then you can say, I need these specific things, how many family members you've got, so that they can have things ready for you. It's never to deny. It's just to help them track. And by the way, if you think, you should just be able to go and be anonymous when you pick it up, this helps them track so that they can get grants. Right? It's the same type of thing where it's that they estimate that in the month of November, because of the loss of the SNAP program, they're going to need 2 million pounds of food, which means they need to double the amount of food that they are giving out for one single month based on the fact that SNAP is no longer eligible because it's not currently being funded.
Right.
And of course, the second that program goes back into existence, I'm sure we'll play catch up. And this is the other thing too, is here's a great opportunity to patronize businesses who are also trying to help in some way, shape, or form. Right. I want to give a shout out. Great Harvest Bread, who makes the best scones in Fargo, without a doubt. South University Drive, they announced, and they did it very humbly, and said, if you're affected by the government shutdown, if you're an employee who's not being paid, if you just lost your SNAP benefits, come in and we'll give you a free loaf of bread. And you can get like honey cracked wheat or white bread. They also have like a 10% off discount for government employees and things like that. So a loaf of bread, like a good loaf of bread, think about how important that is to someone who's food insecure right now. Think of all the things you can do. That loaf of bread represents breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? It's something quick. It's something easy, something you can take with you, and there's a heartiness to bread. There's a show on CNN right now where Tony Shalhoub travels the world tasting breads, and I'm like, this looks so good, so amazing. Another one is Dempsey's in downtown Fargo.
Oh, really? Very cool.
You can go in and you can order the Danger Special, and what the Danger Special is a free pizza.
Nice.
You just tell them pepperoni or cheese. And they no questions asked. They'll make it for you, and they'll send you on your way. And all you have to do is go in and tell your server you'd like the Danger Special. That is the type of thing that, and more businesses I'm sure will come out of the woodwork. In fact, what was I just reading? There was another one that was really interesting, and it is called Kingsbury Company. So this is a post that the Kingsbury Company put up just recently. Starting Monday, if Congress, this includes both sides, can't get their crap together, we will help where we can. If you are struggling to feed yourself and or your family, contact me. I will meet you at our potato warehouse. You bring a bag container and you may pick fresh red potatoes from the bin. You'll have to wash, but besides your time, a little gas to get here, and water to wash, they'll be free to you. I won't let you fill your vehicle, but as much as you can throw over your shoulder. If I get time, I may even have some sticks of butter to go along with the spuds, but no promises. Text me to schedule a time starting on Monday. He puts a phone number out there. Suppose I better protect myself while supplies last. I grew reds for fun. Our employees and family, we have more than we should. I'm used to buying washed from the neighborhood wash plants, so if I have to do it again, it won't hurt me. So, meaning that this guy's willing to give away the potatoes that he's grown, and he'll go buy his own potatoes separately. That is the type of stuff that is neighbors helping neighbors. You do not know what's going on in the house or the apartment dwelling next to you, and this is an opportunity for us to just do something, right? So starting on Monday, when this launches, I went out and got a ton of cardboard boxes, and I'm going to make them available at KFGO. And I'm going to tell people, come pick up a box and then tell me where you're going. And I'm going to promote your business for hosting an impromptu food drive. I will come and pick up the boxes, so you don't even have to worry about going to there, and I will drop them off because I will keep the barrier as low as possible so that this is not something, there's no hurdles to you. You can make this thing happen because you can't change the world, but you can make a dent, right? Those little things, just those little things. And remember, it is Fill the Dome season. Those high school kids from all of the Fargo Public Schools high schools are going to be collecting food. They use it to fill the dome. They bring it in right before Thanksgiving. We are also at one of the hardest times of the year when it comes to imagine a world where we do not get the government opened by Thanksgiving and those SNAP benefits aren't there, and people are spending Thanksgiving around a table that has some ramen noodles on it and not much more, right? I think we can do this. I think we can come together and we can help other people. And if you're an individual who says, I work hard, I pay my own bills, why should I have to buy somebody else's food? I'd like you to unsubscribe from this podcast because I don't need you as a listener if you're that focused on your own self and not thinking about anybody else. Because like I said, this is not a grand gesture. You're not going out there and having to collect 10,000 pounds of potatoes, lug them all on your back. I'm saying a box of mac and cheese, a package of tortillas. You're already out at the grocery store. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to go to a grocery store and buy the things that you like, think about that person who can't. Think about that person who hasn't purchased something that you would consider fun food instead of fuel food in a long time. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. So what I decided to do is I have about 60 turkeys in my garage, live turkeys that I trapped down by the river, and I'm gonna fatten them up, and I'm gonna bring them all to the food pantry.